Good morning. Welcome back to management subject in business level 1. So we are going to meet after long time due to COVID-19 pandemic. So if I remind you what we have discussed up to now, so first of all, we got an understanding about what is an organization and what are the different types of organizations available in the business environment. If you remember, we discussed organization structures like limited companies, cooperatives. At the same time, we look at about private sector organizations, public sector organizations, NGOs. That was the first thing we did. So with that particular background, then we move to the topic number 2. In there, we discuss about what is management, who are the writers contribute to the management, efficiency and effectiveness principles. Those were mainly covered. Then we commence our discussion on managerial functions. Under that, the first managerial functions we have to discuss is planning. So we commence our discussion with the planning. I think that session was also done as a video session. If you remember, I think that was happened in 15th March, right? So 15th March, due to this COVID-19 problem, actually we had a video session on the introduction session on planning. So after that, we didn't meet. So today we are meeting again. Exactly after 1.5 month. So, but I hope this 1.5 month will not be a problem for you. You may have used that break for more effective work. Nothing to worry. We hope the same pandemic situation will continue for at least another 1.5 months too, right? So we will not be able to have physical meeting classes. So we can't delay our works. So after 1.5 months, so we are going to commence the session again. So I will try to catch the session we have missed out up to now. So I have to have 6 sessions, right? So I will try my best to come whenever I have free time and to cover the 6 sessions. And after that, so we'll have session on weekly basis. So from your point of view, I think nothing to worry. So you have all the resources. So I hope within 2 to 3 weeks, so IES will have fully equipped website also to do more interactions with you. So I hope to have some one-to-one discussion also with you. And papers will be also uploaded in the near future. Therefore, right, without meeting physically, so we'll carry out this work further. Right. So we commence the planning session through video sessions. And if you remember, in that class, actually, we complete the inductions part. We complete the induction part on planning. So we discuss what is plan, what are the different type of plans. Under that, we discuss 3 type of plans: single-use plan, standing plans, and contingency plans. Then 1.2, we discuss the need for planning. Then 1.3, we discuss the planning and control cycles. In the actually, we identify 5 steps: identify objective, identify potential strategies, evaluate strategies, choose alternative course of actions, implement the long-term plan. Then under 1.4, we discuss hierarchy of objectives. Then 1.5, today actually we have to commence with the 1.5, advantages of a formal planning systems. Advantage of a formal planning systems. So we'll discuss the discussions with that. Advantages of formal planning system. Advantages of formal planning system. Right. So, what are the advantages? The first advantage is identifies risk. Is the first advantage. Identifies risk. Right. How formal planning system help to identify risk? So under the formal planning system, we look at about the future. We try to define the future state of the organizations. When you are trying to define the future state, we may find some of the risks we can face in relation to the organizational activities. For an example, how can changes in technology will affect to the organization will be recognized through this planning process. There may be some new technologies available in the market after some period. So that will help organization think on this. So that will be a risk from the organizational point of view. If we continue the traditional model as it is, so organization will not be able to survive. So you identify the risk factor. So not only identification of the risk factor, now what you will do is you will take the relevant action also to face those risks. That's the number one advantage we have. Then the second one is force managers to think. Force managers to think. Force managers to think. Now managers should be creative. They know if organization want to survive in the future, they have to come up with some good ideas. Based on those good ideas, some innovative product should be introduced to the marketplace. So you go out of the box and think about new things you can do when you are doing the strategic planning process. Then number 3 is post decision making. Number 3, post decision making. So organization have to take decisions when environment is changing rapidly. For example, look at about this IS story now. Right now, IS has taken a decision to go to the online mode. Right? So post decision making. So with this changing nature of the environment has led IAS to think out of the box and make some decisions. So they have understood the physical classroom mode will not work in the future with the technology. So blended learning is must. So they are taking initiatives based on that. Post decision making. Then another one is better controls. Better control. Better control. So how can you implement a better control? Better control. Now, when you have done the planning, you have set the objectives that should be achieved by the organizations. You have set objective that should be achieved by the organizations. Now, from time to time, what you can do is you can check whether those objectives are fulfilled as planned. If not, they can take the required corrective actions. So closely monitor the things happening through this planning process. So that is an advantage. Better controls. Then enforce consistency at all level. Enforce consistency at all levels. Enforce consistency at all levels. Look at that one. Enforce consistency at all levels. Now here, so when you are doing the planning work, different people in different units has to work together to make a good plan for the organizations. For an example, top people, middle level people, low level people, all work together in this planning work. So normally what is happening is the objective set by the top level people, right, will be communicated to the middle level management. They will prepare divisional plan, in other words, departmental plan to support the objective set by the top level management. Now see, based on this, middle level prepare the plan. Now, what happened? Now the consistency between the two levels. So based on the plan prepared by the middle level, low level prepare the plan. Then again, the consistency will be created between the middle level and the lowest levels. So like that, through a proper planning process, there will be a consistency among the all levels. Then the next one is theory of the business. theory of the business, theory of the business, theory of the business. Theory of the business mean normally the management know the theory of the business, especially the owner know the theory of the business. So he know what should be used to achieve the success for the business. But unfortunately, that theory of the business may not be communicated to the other people in the organization under the normal circumstances. But through planning process, this may be communicated. When you're doing the planning, the owner will tell his expectations, the things he prefer to do to achieve the objectives. Now everyone come to know, so what is the theory of the business? That is the point number 6. Right. So with that, we can complete 1.5. So we'll go through the note also one by one. So hope you have the tunes. Sometimes there may be a mess, no, among your materials. So so page number 8. I am referring to page number 8. Page number 8. Advantage of a formal planning system. I hope you have found the page. Page number 8. So look at the first advantage. Identifies risks. I explained that point to you. Strategic planning help identify and manage risks. Strategic planning help identify and manage risks. Then the second one, force managers to think. Strategic planning can encourage creativity and initiative by tapping the ideas of the management team. කළමනාකරුවන්ට හිතන්න බල කරනවා කියන එක නේ. force කියලා කියන්නේ බල කරනවා කියන එක. So through the strategic planning process, they are encouraged to think about new things, creative initiatives. Those are considered here. Then post decision making. තීරණ ගන්න බල කරනවා කියන එක post decision making. Companies cannot remain static. They have to cope with changes in the environment. එකම විදිහට අපිට යන්න බෑ. වෙළඳපොලේ නැත්නම් පරිසරයේ සිදුවන්නා වූ වෙනස්කම් එක්ක අපිට ගනුදෙනු කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. Coop here means the deal, no? Coop. A strategic plan draws attention to the need to change and adapt, not just to stand still and survive. Strategic plan draws attention to the need to change and adapt. So that will help you to change the organization and adapt to the environment requirement, not just to stand still and survive. Then better controls. Management control can be better exercised if targets are explicit. When you have explicit target, you can බාහිරට පේන කියන එක. ආයතන ඇතුලේ කට්ටියට පේන target. දැන් අපි formal planning system එක හරහා සැලසුම් සකස් කළාට පස්සේ ඒවා ආයතනයේ සෑම සමාජිකයෙකුටම බලන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ සහ ඒ දන්නවා. එයට සංවේදනය කළා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා හැමෝටම පේන ඉලක්කයන් හඳුනා ගැනීම හරහා ඒවා හොඳට පාලනය කරන්නත් අපිට අවස්ථාව ලැබෙනවා. Then enforce consistency at the all levels. Long-term, medium-term and short-term objectives, plans and control can be made consistent with one another. That long-term, medium-term, short-term have been connected to three systems. For example, I told this top management objectives, those are more long-terms, then that is communicated to the middle management, they are more medium term, then that is converted into a short term objectives, that is at the operational level. So otherwise, strategies can be rendered ineffective by budgeting system and performance measures which have no strategic content. Then theory of the business, the management writer Peter Drucker has argued that an entrepreneur who builds a long-lasting business has a theory of the business. Peter Drucker, you know who is Peter Drucker? I say that entrepreneur who builds a long-lasting business has a theory of the business. ආයතනයේට අදාළව ආයතනයේ කරන් යන්න ඕන දේ මොකක්ද කියන එක තමයි මෙතන අදහස් කරන්නේ. Which inform his or her business decision. In large organization, the theory of the business has to become public knowledge. In large organization, that should be communicated to the general public. That decision cannot be taken only by one person. Right. At the same time, we look at about barriers to effective planning also. බාධකයන් කියන එක, barriers to effective planning. Possible barriers to effective planning are described below. So what are the barriers? So look at the first barrier. Unknown future. There's the first barrier, unknown future. Look at the comment. Surprises will always occur if plans are excessively detailed. They may not be able to cope with them. Unknown future. So we don't know what will happen in the future. For example, 6 months back, no one predict pandemic situation like this. Many businesses are struggling, right? So surprises will always occur. Look at this, COVID-19 is a surprise for everyone. No one thought on that, right? So if plans are excessively detailed, they may not be able to cope with them. Therefore, sometime organization may not be able to deal with such changes. Lack of creativity and inability to think creatively about new areas can prevent the identification of opportunity. So if you don't have the creativity skill, you may not be able to identify the new opportunities. Then fear about the possible adverse consequences of taking decision can lead to management avoiding planning. Fear. So look at that one. Fear about the possible adverse consequences of taking decisions. You fear to take decisions, right? You don't know what will happen. You have a doubt. Therefore, අඩියක් හැමතිස්සෙම ඉස්සරහට තියන්න බයයි, පිටිපස්සට තියන්න තමයි කැමති. Right? So therefore, that will avoid planning. Then inertia. Right, what is this? Inertia. So we look at the meaning of this inertia. Right, here it say this can be caused by excessive bureaucracy, hindering change or by way of thinking that have become outdated. Here this inertia mean, general meaning of the inertia mean tends to be a tendency to do nothing or to remain unchanged. වෙනසක් නොකර ඉන්න තියෙන කැමැත්තක් තමයි මේ ඉනේෂියා කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒකට හේතුව මොකද්ද? If you look at the comments, this can be caused by excessive bureaucracy. Excessive bureaucracy mean there are so many rules and regulations within the organizations. Therefore, very difficult to make decision to change it. Right? Hindering කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Reduce the progress. Hindering change. Or by ways of thinking that have become outdated. So your thinking is outdated, not match with the current requirement. Then focused on current development. Focusing on day-to-day challenges can lead to failure to consider how future success can be achieved. Right? Focus on current development. Look at the comment. Focusing on day-to-day challenges can lead to failure to consider how future success can be achieved. So, you are thinking about day-to-day activities only. You are not thinking about the future. So, that will be a barrier. The negativity, lack of positive ideas can be a particularly big handicap to effective strategic planning. So, you don't have positive ideas, negative, no, this can't be done, right? So, like that you think, right, very negatively. So, that will create some problem. Then insufficient resources, ambitious plan may be thwarted by a lack of the resources required to implement them effectively. So, you don't have enough resources to implement plans successfully. So, that will be a problem. Therefore, communications. Difficulty in communicating goals decrease the chances that these objectives can be transformed into effective plan. So, poor communication, difficulty in communicating goals decrease the chances that these objectives can be transformed into effective plan. So, even though you prepare a good plan, that has not been communicated properly. Therefore, the plan will not be implemented successfully. Especially, this happened due to the gap between the management and the other employees. So, management may not be communicating the plan properly to the low-level people. The resistance. If plan mean change, those who are affected by the change may resist them. So, openly plan resulted in change. So, if people are affected from that, they may not accept, they will resist it. Virodhi dakkwana කියන එක resist කියලා කියන්නේ. Resist them. Right. So, with that, we can complete the topic number 1, introduction on planning. And we can move to the topic number 2, planning and decision making for accountants. Right. So, we'll look at about that also. We'll look at about the introduction first. A significant role for accountant in business planning is budget preparations. Yes, normally accountant play the main role in budget preparations. It is very common to find budget divisions, budget unit under the finance department. So they may normally pay the main roles. Right. The significant role for accountant in business planning is budget preparations. The rational planning framework provides a mechanism for making decisions. All the decisions may be made informally or influenced by non-rational factors. So later we'll discuss about this rational planning process, right, under 2.31. So that will help to make better decisions. Right. So first of all, we'll discuss about the 2.1, planning. So we look at about the type of planning based on the levels of the organizations. Types of planning. Types of planning. So we can identify three main types of planning based on the three levels of the organizations. You are aware what are the three levels of the organizations? We can identify top management first, top management. Then we can identify middle management. Then under them we can identify low level management. Under them you can identify non-managerial staffs, or in other words, operational level employees. Look at about the types of planning. This top management involved in strategic planning. Strategic planning that is normally long term. For example, they will prepare plan for next 5 years. They will prepare plan for next 5 years. Then middle management, they also involved in planning, and they prepare detailed plan to support the top management plans. That is called tactical planning. Tactical planning. Those are normally medium terms. Medium terms, for example, 1 year. 1 year. Then low level management, they prepare more detailed plan to support the middle management plan. That is called operational planning. Operational planning. Their plan is actually very short term. Short term. For example, they may prepare 1 month plan. 1 month plan. So if I look at about a plan in detail, for example, I will say top management may prepare a plan to increase market share of the organizations, market share of the organization up to 25% by year 2025. For year 2020, marketing department want to sell 1,000 units to support to increase market share up to 21% at the end of 2020, right? So what marketing department will do is they will prepare a plan, detailed plan to sell 1000 unit for 2020. Then here we'll say sales manager is there. Sales manager will prepare detailed plan for example say May 2020 to sell unit. For example, we'll say suppose 100 unit. He will prepare a detailed plan to achieve this. For example, he may identify the areas where he is planning to sell this 100 unit. Even the client, the customer list, he is going to target to sell this particular 100 unit. Now I think it's clear for you. Right. So we'll look at about the note also. Many early books on business strategy suppose that strategy making was necessarily a planning process. Often this involved delegating the task of strategic plan into a separate department. Sorry, we'll back to 2.1, right? 2.1, 2.11. Planning, the overall planning process in which accountant are involved covers both the long and short term. First one, strategic planning, or we call the same as corporate or long range planning also. Cover period longer than 1 year. Look at that one. Cover period longer than 1 year and involve the formulation, evaluation and selection of strategies for the purpose of preparing long-term plan of action to attain objectives. Now you know who do this. This is normally done by the top management. Person like board of directors, chief executive officer are normally involved in strategic planning process. Then budgetary, short-term or tactical planning involve preparing detailed plan which generally cover 1 year for an organization function, activities and department. Work within the framework set by strategic plan and convert those strategic plan into actions. So these are more detailed plans which is prepared to support to the top management plan. Then operation plans. Operation plan, planning on a very short term or day-to-day basis and is concerned with planning how an organization resources will be used. This is very short term one. It can be a day-to-day basis sometime. I work within the framework set by the budgetary plan and convert the budgetary plan into actions. So this will convert budgetary plan into actions. Right. Then 2.11 strategic planning. Many early books on business strategy suppose that strategy making was necessarily a planning process. Often this involved delegating the task of strategic plan to a separate department. Yes, so often you can find a separate department who carry out a strategic planning. Traditionally, I have seen the strategic planning unit has been attached with the finance. Strategic planning unit normally attached with the finance division. But in large organization nowadays, you can find a separate division for strategic planning purpose. Drucker defines strategic planning as having 3 aspects. The continuous process of making person risk-taking decisions systematically and with greatest knowledge of their future. Continuous process of making person risk-taking decisions systematically. So here you make risk-taking decision. Think about the future by thinking about the future aspects. Then B, organizing systematically the effort needed to carry out these decisions. So you organize the things systematically, the effort needed to carry out these decisions. Then see, measuring the result of these decisions through organized systematic feedbacks. So from time to time, you will measure the actual result. Accordingly, you can take decisions. For example, if there is unfavorable variance, then you can take corrective action on that. Right. Then 2.12. 2.12, the value of long-term planning. Value of long-term planning. So we'll look at about that also. So what is the value of long-term planning? A budgetary planning and control system operating in isolations without any form of long-term planning as a framework is unlikely to produce maximum potential benefit for an organization. If you prepare a budget without having any connectivity to a long-term planning, that will not give the maximum benefit to the organizations. Without stated long-term objective, managers do not know what they should be trying to achieve, and so there are no criteria against which to assess possible course of actions. If managers don't know about the long-term objectives, they don't know, right, they are trying to achieve. Therefore, the action taken by them may not be appropriate. Then B, without long-term planning, budget may simply be based on a sales forecast. Yes, if you don't have a long-term plan, just a forecast about the future target you want to achieve. Performance can therefore only be judged in terms of previous year's result. Therefore, to come to a conclusion whether you have performed well or not, you have to look at about the past year, and accordingly you can make a decision on that. No analysis of the organization potential having been carried out. Then C, many business decisions need to be taken on a long-term basis. Many decisions should be taken on a long-term basis. For instance, new product cannot simply be introduced when sales of existing product begin to decline. So normally you can't introduce new product when sales of existing product begin to decline. Then sales එක අඩු වෙනකන් හිටියොත් හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා තමන් ඉනිෂියේටිව් ගන්න ඕනේ කියන එක. Likewise, capital equipment cannot necessarily be purchased and installed in the short term if production volume start to increase. So you have to plan for the production's capacity. එකපාරට production capacity වැඩි කරන්න අපිට බැහැ. Then with long-term planning, limiting factors other than sales which might arise can possibly be anticipated and avoided or overcome. So when you are doing the long-term planning, you can identify some of the factors that restrict your activities. Those are limiting factors. So then you can expect them, and you can take action to avoid them or overcome. The body's to effectively its role must be defined carefully. Right. So with that, we can complete that area. And then we can move to the next one, 2.2, budgeting and planning. Budgeting and planning. Right. So first of all, we'll discuss the difference between budget and the forecast. Budget and the forecast. Right. Budget and forecast. If I go for definitions on budget, I can say budget, budget is a quantified plan. It's a quantified plan of action, plan of actions for a forthcoming accounting period. So look at the definition here. Budget and forecast. So budget is a quantified plan of actions. Quantified plan of action for a forthcoming accounting period. Quantified mean measured. Right? Measured plan of action for a forthcoming accounting period. Forthcoming mean for a future period. ඉදිරියට එන period එකක් කියන එක forthcoming accounting periods. For an example, the organization may prepare budget for 2020, year 2020. Now, if you look at about this, right? So here, what you have done is you have prepared a plan for next 12 months. So forthcoming accounting period, year 2020. Right. Then, if you look at about forecast, what is forecast? The forecast is an estimate of what is likely to occur. What is likely to occur in the future. So forecast is an estimate of what is likely to occur in the future. So under the forecast, what we do is, right, we try to estimate what is likely to occur in the future. For example, very familiar example is weather forecast. So every day morning you can hear the weather forecast. No, it tell what will happen in the weather in the afternoon. For example, rain. Right. So estimate of what is likely to occur in the future. So if you look at about these two, actually, the forecast is one of the technique we use when you are preparing the budget. For an example, when you are preparing the budget, we have to include the sales income. So sales income will be forecasted. Right? Then that figure will be included within the budget. If you look at about these two, actually budget is more broader, no? Budget is broader. So part of the budget is forecast technique we use. So we look at about the note also. I'm referring to page number 11. 2.2 budgeting and planning. The budget is a quantified plan of action for forthcoming accounting period. මම කෝල්න් පැහැදිලි කළා quantified කියලා කියන්නේ මයින්න පුළුවන් කියන එක. ඒක අපි අඳුර ගන්න ඕනේ figures amount අඳුර ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ හින්දා තමයි quantified කියලා කියන්නේ. උදාහරණයක් sales වලට අපි amount එකක් අඳුර ගන්නවා. forthcoming QE ඉදිරියට තියෙන period එකකට තමයි budget එක හදන්නේ. For example, government budget still not presented, no? So normally they had to present the budget at the end of the December 2019, but due to some of the problems, actually they failed to do that. Still, we are waiting to see the budget. And a budget is a plan of what the organization is aiming to achieve. It's a plan, right? What the organization is aiming to achieve and what it has set as a target, whereas a forecast is an estimate of what is likely to occur in the future. Forecast is estimate of what is likely to occur in the future. So actually, so what we have done is, so we have used forecasting technique when we are preparing the budgets. Right. Then look at the next para. There is little point in an organization simply preparing a budget for the sake of preparing a budget. Budget එක හදනවට බොරුවට කළා වැඩක් නැහැ. Right. A beautifully laid out budgeted income statement filed in the cost account papers and never look at again is worthless. Now, ලස්සන ඩොකියුමන්ට් එකක් හදලා ඒක අපි ප්‍රැක්ටිකලි ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කළේ නැත්නම් ඒක තේරුමක් නැහැ. Right, the organization should gain from both the actual preparation process and from the budget once it has been prepared. The organization should gain from both the actual preparation process and from the budget once it has been prepared. So organization can get some benefit actually by preparing a budget. Budgets are therefore not prepared in isolation and then filed away, but are the fundamental component of what is known as a budgetary planning and control system. So there is a budgetary planning and control system. Within that, budget is the main component. The budgetary planning and control system is essentially a system for ensuring communication, coordination and control within an organization. Budgetary planning and control system is essentially a system for ensuring communications, coordination and control within an organization. Yes, here from that actually we communicate what the organization want to achieve. Then through this one actually coordination will be happen within the organizations. Then this can be used for controlling purpose also. Communication, control and control general objective. More information is provided by an inspection of the specific objective, budgetary planning and control system. A very important sentence. Communication, coordination and control are general objectives. Those are general objectives. We can look at about the specific objective also. So in your examiner can test a question from you in relation to this. For example, there may be MC questions. Within that he may ask, what are the general objective of budget? In that scenario, the correct answer is communications, coordination and control. He may put some other point also, right? But you should be able to pick the right one, right? So we'll look at about the more specific objective of the budgeting. First one is ensure the achievement of the organizational objectives. Ensure the achievement of the organizational objectives. Objectives are set for the organization as a whole and for individual department and operation within the organizations. Look at the sentence. Objectives are set for the organization as a whole. If you look at the objectives which have been prepared to the whole organizations, in addition to that, based on this broad organizational objectives, in relation to individual department, also some objectives have been set. Then quantified expression of these objectives are then drawn up as target to be achieved within the time scale of the budget plan. Normally, in relation to these objectives, we have identified some quantified amount. That quantified amount has been identified within the budget. For an example, the organization may have an objective of increasing market share. Another example is organization have an objective of increase sales and profit. In relation to those objectives, you may have identified amount also. For example, increase sales, say current sales level is 20 million and we may have plan to increase that up to 25 million. The 25 amount will be put into the budget as sales target. From that what happened? Now when the budget is given to the managers, they want to work hard to achieve the target given within the budget. Right? Then they actually chase in this amount. No? So each month they will be given a target within the budget. So they are working hard to achieve those targets. Then ultimately what happened? So when the budget figures are achieved, automatically the objectives also will be achieved. Then the next one is compel planning. Compel means force planning. So we look at about that also. This is probably the most important feature of a budgetary planning and control system. Planning force management to look ahead. Normally planning activity force managers to think about the future and to set out detailed plans for achieving the target for each department. So within the planning, we identify detailed plan for each department, operation, and ideally for each manager to anticipate problems. So target will be given for each manager also. For example, sales guy may be given a target. It thus prevent management from relying on ad hoc or uncoordinated planning, which may be detrimental to the performance of the organization. Then මෙහෙම අපි සැලසුම් ක්‍රියාවලියක් මගින් මොකද වෙන්නේ අර තනියෙන් පැත්තකට වෙලා අනිත් අය සම්බන්ධ නොකර සිදු කරන ප්ලෑනින් වළක්වා ගැනීම සිද්ධ කරනවා. එහෙම වුණොත් එහෙම මොකද උදාහරණයක් විදිහට නිෂ්පාදන අංශය වෙනම සැලැස්මක් හදා ගන්නවා, අලුවේ අංශය වෙනම සැලැස්මක් හදා ගන්නවා කිසිම සම්බන්ධීකරණයක් නැතුව. එතකොට අවසානයේදී ආයතනයේ පරමාර්ථ ඉටුවීමක් නොවෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ හරහා. නමුත් දැන් මේ බජට් හරහා මොකද වෙන්නේ අපි ප්ලෑනින් එක පිළිබඳව එකට එකතු වෙලා තමයි සැලසුම් සකස් කිරීමක් කරන්නේ. ඒ හරහා මොකද වෙන්නේ අපිට නිවැරදි පරමාර්ථ ළඟා කරගන්න උදව් වීමක් ලැබෙනවා. So it also help managers to foresee potential threat or opportunities. When you are doing this planning work, so managers can identify what are the future threats and opportunities that they may take action now to avoid or minimize the effect of the threat and to take full advantage of the opportunities. So that they may take action now to avoid or minimize the effect of the threat and to take full advantage of the opportunities. So now they can take action to minimize the effect of the threat and take the full advantage of the opportunities. Then communicate ideas and plans. Communicate ideas and plans. So look at that also, communicate ideas and plans. A formal system is necessary to ensure that each person affected by the plan is aware of what is he or she is supposed to be doing. So look at that one. A formal system is necessary to ensure that each person affected by the plan is aware of what is he or she is supposed to be doing. Now, there should be a formal way of communicating target to the each person in the organization, especially for the managers. Now, when you have prepared the budget, those amount have been incorporated with the budgets, targets have been incorporated with the budget, and that will be used a formal method to communicate the target. For example, when budget is prepared, then sales guy know his target is formally communicated to him. Right? He is responsible on the sales figure. Communication might be one way with managers giving orders to subordinate, or this might be a two-way dialogue and exchange of ideas. This may be one way or two-way. So one way mean managers prepare the budget without any consultation with the employees, then give the target to the employees. Two-way mean before deciding the target, so manager may get the ideas from the employee. For example, he asks from the sales guy, what is the total amount of sales he can achieve during a particular year. Then based on that, he may put that amount in the budget figure. Then coordinate activities. So we'll look at about that also. What is coordinate activities? The activities of different department or subunit of the organizations need to be coordinated to ensure maximum integration of effort toward common goals. The activities of different department or subunit of the organization need to be coordinated to ensure maximum integration of effort toward common goal. So here what happened actually? So when you are doing this budget, actually different department works are coordinated each other. For example, production department discuss with the marketing department about the number of unit they want to produce, because after producing the unit, marketing people have to sell it, no? So based on the marketing people requirement, production people should plan the production unit. This concept of coordination implies, for example, that the purchasing department should base its budget on production requirement. For example, purchasing department should decide the number of per unit they want to purchase based on the production requirement, right? And that the production budget should in turn be based on sales expectation. Production people should think about the sales done by the sales department. Although straightforward in concept, coordination is remarkably difficult to achieve, and there is often suboptimality. But still there may be some issues, right? Suboptimality mean below an optimal level of standard. Optimality mean below an optimal level of standard. Below an optimal level of standard, and conflicts between departmental plan in the budget, so that the effort of each department are not fully integrated into a combined plan to achieve the company's best targets. Look at that, suboptimality and conflict between department plan in the budget, so that the effort of each department are not fully integrated into a combined plan to achieve the company's best target. So if there are some conflict among the department regarding the targets, so ultimately that may result not achieving the target given in the plan. Then provide a framework for responsibility accounting. Budgeted planning and control system require that managers of budget centers are made responsible for the achievement of budget target for the operation under their personal controls. Look at that one. Provide a framework for responsibility accounting. Budgetary planning and control system require that managers of budget centers are made responsible for the achievement of budget target for the operation under their personal controls. Now, when you have given target for each person, with the target assignment, the responsibility also assigned for them. For example, when the target is given for the marketing manager, when the target is identified in the budget for sales. So the marketing manager is responsible also. Therefore, for allocating responsibility, we can use budgets. The next one is establish system of controls. Establish system of controls. A budget is a yardstick against which actual performance is monitored and assessed. Yardstick is minimum that. Right. So budget is a yardstick against which actual performance is monitored and assessed. So normally what we do, so we normally measure the actual performance, then we compare actual performance with the figures in the budget. No, based on that we can come to a conclusion whether a particular person or division has performed well or not. Not only that actually. So if there are some unfavorable variances, so we'll take corrective action also. Control over actual performance is provided by the comparison of actual result against the budgetary plan. Control over actual performance is provided by the comparison of actual results against the budget plan. Yes, right. Departures from budget can then be investigated. That means unfavorable variances actually can be investigated, and the reason for the departures can be divided into controllable and uncontrollable factors. So when you're analyzing the deviation, you can divide them into two: controllable and uncontrollable factors. Controllable mean the manager had the ability to achieve that one, but because of his own mistakes, right, he didn't do it properly. Uncontrollably, that is out of the manager. He can't do anything. For example, COVID-19 pandemic, right? This is out of the control. No one can do anything, right? The next one is motivate employees to improve their performance. How that happen? So when they have not performed well, right? So this force them to think, no, right? The interest and commitment of employees can be retained via a system of feedback and actual result, which let them know how well or badly they are performing. So this, when you compare with the actual performance with the budgeted figures, if there are any unfavorable variance, then people know that they have not performed well. They have not performed well. So that can be used for motivation purpose, and they will put more effort in the future to achieve the target. The identifications of controllable reason for departures from budget with an indication of managers responsible provide an incentive for improving future performance. The controllable reasons can be communicated to them. Then they know if they have performed well, they have the opportunity to avoid them. No, so in the future they may take action to avoid such thing, and that will help to increase the performance in the future. The next one, provide a framework for authorizations. Provide a framework for authorizations. Now what is that? So we look at that also. Once the budget has been agreed by the directors and senior managers, it acts as an authorization for each budget holder to incur the costs included in the budget center's budget. So when it is approved, actually, then it is given the authority. For example, say budget for the marketing people. For example, advertising cost. When it is approved by the board, then it is automatically give the authority for marketing manager to spend that particular money. So authority will be given from that, right? It acts as an authorization for each budget holder to incur the costs included in the budget center's budget. As long as the expenditure is included in the formalized budget, the budget holder can carry out day-to-day operations without needing to seek separate authorization for each item of expenditure. Now, no need to get the approval for each item from the board again, right? The next one is provide a basis for performance evaluations, as well as providing a yardstick for control by comparison. The monitoring of actual results compared to the budget can provide a basis for evaluating the performance of the budget holder. So this can be used to evaluate the performance of the budget holder. For example, marketing guy, right? So based on the actual performance, we can come to a conclusion about his performance, For example, suppose at the beginning of the year, within the budget, we have given a target of 20 million. At the end of the year, when we measure the actual performance of him, suppose it is 10 million. And see, what do you think about performance of that marketing manager? Is it good? Not good, no? Only 50% of the target is achieved. So we can come to a conclusion about performance as bad. Right, as a result of this evaluation, the manager might be rewarded, perhaps with a financial bonus or promotion. If someone has performed really well, then he will get the reward, no? We say the same guy has achieved 30 million sales. I will get lot of benefit. For example, sales commissions, even high bonus, even he may be recommended for promotion purpose. Alternatively, the evaluation process might highlight the need for more investment in staff development and training. People who have performed badly or poorly, right, should be target for future development. So more training can be given for them. Right. So with that, we can complete 2.2. Right. Then 2.3, decision making. Right. We'll look at about the decision making also. Although delegation and empowerment sometimes mean that managers delegate decision to others, decision making remain a key responsibility of managers. Normally managers are responsible on decision making. There are different ways of categorizing decisions. One useful analysis of decision is to classify them into 5 categories. So we'll look at about some of the categories of decision taken by managers. So we can identify 5 groups: routine planning decision, short-run problem decisions, investment or disinvestment decision, long-range decisions, then control decisions. These are some of the decisions managers want to make. So we look at about each one. Routine planning decision. Routine kila kena makad. Nevata gano labana kini kane. Routine planning decisions. So what are the example? Typically budgeting and scheduling. Now budget is a routine thing. Every year you have to prepare a budget. Scheduling, for example, production manager, right? Every day he has to schedule the production run. Those are routine planning decisions. Then short-run problem decisions. Look at the next one, short-run problem decisions. Typically decision of non-recurring nature. For example, a manager might have to deal with a staff problem or give instruction to a subordinate about what to do next. Short-run problem decision, typical decision of a non-recurring nature. මේවා නැවත නැවත ඇති වෙන දේවල් නෙමෙයි. හදිසිය ඇති වෙන තත්වයකට අදාළව ගන්න වෙන තීරණ. For example, a manager might have to deal with a staff problem. For example, let's say 2 employees fight each other. So in that scenario, you have to take decisions. Or give instruction to subordinate about what to do next. Then investment or disinvestment decisions. Investment or disinvestment decisions. For example, should an item of equipment be purchased? Should a department be shut down? Decision of this nature often have long-term consequences. For example, you have to take a decision at what time you have to purchase a particular equipment. So, sometimes you have to take a decision to close down a factory. So, investment or disinvestment decisions. The longer range decisions. So what are longer range decisions? Decisions made once and review infrequently, but which are intended to provide a continuing solution to a continuing or recurring problems. For example, you say within the computer systems, there is a weakness. So it can't generate the required report. So the long run decision should be taken to update the systems. Right? So if you take a decision to update the systems, so such decision will be reviewed infrequently. Then control decisions. Decision about what to do when performance is disappointing and below expectations. When the target have not been achieved as planned, then you have to make decision how to reach the targets. That is called control decisions. Right. Then decisions are needed to resolve problems, and when there is a choice about which course of action to take, problem vary not just according to what they are above, but also according to normally problem is not similar. There are some differences. Those what are the differences? We'll look at about some of the differences. One is how easy or complex they are to resolve. Whether it's easy one or difficult one to resolve. How frequently they arise. So whether it is rarely happen like COVID-19 or whether they arise from time to time. Then whether the problem can be quantified or whether there are qualitative matters of judgment involves. Whether we can measure the problem, right? And accordingly we can take a decision very easily, or problem is associated with qualitative issues. Then how much information is available to help the manager to make the decisions? So what about the information availability? Right. Based on that, managers can make a proper decision. No, if more information are available, then managers can take more better decisions. Then how serious the consequence would be if a bad decision were made? වැරදි තීරණයක් ගත්තොත් ඒකෙන් අත්වෙන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රතිවිපාක වල තරම මොන වගේද කියන එක ප්‍රතිවිපාක දරනෝද නැත්නම් බොහොම අඩු ප්‍රතිවිපාකද ලැබෙන්නේ කියන කාරණේ. Right. Then whose job it is to make the decision about how to deal with it? Now who will make the decision on that particular problem? Right. Then decisions arrive at in different ways. So what are the ways we take decisions? First one is rationale. Decision made in a logical framework. Rationale means we use a sequential process to make the decisions. Right. So for example 2.31 rational planning model. Then behavioral. What is behavioral? Decision influenced by non-rational social and political consideration, with decision makers setting for a solution that is satisfactory but not as good as the ideal solution. It's a judgmental one actually. You think about society, you think about the political influences on decisions. Those are behavioral decisions, right? Not rational. Then informal. This can refer to decision arrived at by concession. Concession means agreement, or by generally exploiting opportunities when they arise rather than relying on formal plan. Informal කියලා කියන්නේ මේ formal plan එකකට නෙමෙයි කට්ටිය ඒ අවස්ථානුකූලව එකට එකතු වෙලා තීරණ ගැනීම කරනවා යම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් පැනනගුණාම. That is called informal. Right. So then with that we can move to the next one. Rational planning model. So very important one from the exam point of view, rational planning model. Right. Look at the name given for this rational planning model. තාර්කික සැලසුම් ආකෘතිය කියන එක. මෙතනදී අපි තාර්කික විදිහට තමයි තීරණ ගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. මෙතනදී අපි තාර්කිකව අනුගමනය කරන්න පුළුවන් පියවර ගණනාවක් යොදා ගැනීමක් සිදු කරනු ලබනවා. පීවර ගණනාවක් තාරකව යොදාගෙන තමයි අපි තීරණ ගැනීම සිදු කරනු ලබන්නේ. Here we use some sequential activities when you are making the decisions. So we follow step by steps. Then we come to final conclusions. Right. So we'll look at the number of steps. There are 6 steps. So first of all, I will identify those 6 steps. Step number 1 is problem recognitions. Problem recognitions. Steps number 2. Step number 2 is problem definitions and structuring. Problem definition and structuring. Then step number 3, identifying alternative causes of actions. Step number 3, identifying alternative causes of actions. Alternative causes of actions. Then steps number 4. Step number 4, making and communicating the decisions. 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 Then step number 5, implementation of the decisions. Implementation of the decisions. Then step number 6, monitoring the effect of the decisions. Monitoring the effect of the decisions. Monitoring the effect of the decisions. Now, so they are taking place in sequential order. And that's why I have identified this downward arrow. Right? They take place in sequential order. So look at the steps: problem recognitions, problem definition and structuring, identifying alternative course of actions, making and communicating the decisions, implementation of the decisions, monitoring the effect of the decisions. Right. So we look at about each steps. Look at the first steps: problem recognitions. Starting point of the use of the model is problem recognitions. First of all, you have to identify the problem organization phase. Right. For an example, we'll say fall in customer demand. Fall in customer demand. Customer demand is coming down. Fall in customer demand. So that's a problem. Right? Problem recognitions. Then step number 2, problem definition and structuring. So you have to correctly define this problem. You have to think why this problem arises. Right? You can raise again and again why. For example, you can ask why customer. Now the initial problem is fall in customer demand. No, you can ask why customer demand has been fallen. Right? Why customer demand has been fallen. So you look at about reasons. Suppose you found that quality issue in the problem, quality issue in the product, quality issue in the product. Right. So in the steps number 3, identify alternative course of actions. Now here we try to identify alternative course of action which can be used to solve these problems. For example, this may be due to issue with the machinery use. You may think about the machinery replacement and that scenario, or you may think about the improvement of quality control procedures, training employees. Then step number 4, making and communicating the decisions. Now what you will do is, you will evaluate these options and you will take the decisions. For example, you thought the best decision is machinery replacement. Right. Then after making the decision, that will be communicated to the employees also. Then implementation of the decisions. What you will do is, you will purchase a new machine, purchasing new machine. Then step number 6 is monitoring the effect of the decisions. So you check from time to time whether now this problem is solved, whether quality issue is solved, and customer demand has been restored into original level, and customer demand has been increased, in other words. So if not, again you have to go back and right. For example, again you go back and go to steps number 2 and try to identify the problems, or steps number 3, right? It's very simple, right? So we'll go through the note also. (2.31) in page number 14. 2.31, rational planning model. According to the rational planning model, the stages in making a decision are as follows. Steps number 1, problem recognitions. Steps number 1, problem recognitions. Decisions are not made without information. The decision maker need to be informed of a problem in the first place. So first of all, you have to define what is the real problems. Then step number 2, problem definition and structuring. Definition, the problem is defined precisely. ප්‍රශ්නේ හරියට define කරගන්න ඕනේ. Consider for example a company with fall in sales. The fall in revenue would be the trigger. Further information would be needed to identify where the revenue deficiencies were occurring. You know, identify the reason why sales is coming down. Then if you look at about these decisions, the problem actually you can group them into 2, structural problem and unstructural problems. So we'll, first of all, we'll look at about structuring problems. A structured problem is one in which there is a defined number of elements and it is possible to go about solving the problems. What is structural problem? Structural problem is one in which there is a defined number of elements, and it is possible to go about solving the problem in a systematic way. So that can be easily defined, and you can find defined answers also on that. So what are the example? Car broken. When your car broken, by checking the components of the car, you can identify the exact reason. No, you can write the example somewhere else. Maybe the beginning of the page number 15 you can write. Alright, the car broken. Check what is the exact issue. Check what is the exact issue. Check what is the exact issue. Right, then look at about the unstructural problem. An unstructural problem, on the other hand, less easy to analyze as it appears to lack any obvious logic, underlying procedures or rule for solving is. So such problem can't found any logic actually. Very difficult to find solution. For example, weather problems. Very one of the example, weather problems. COVID-19, good example. Unstructural problem, no one expected this. You can't find an answer also on this. Then stock market predictions. Right, then step number 3, identifying alternative course of actions. Here actually we are trying to identify the alternative course of action to solve the problems. Where alternative course of actions identify information needed about each of them so they can be assessed. Then step number 4, making and communicating the decisions. Decision is made after review of the information related to the alternatives. Right. Here you take a decision. Then implementation of the decision. The decision is then implemented for large scale decision. Implementation may need substantial planning and review. Information is needed to ensure that implementation is going according to plan. Then step number 6, monitoring the effect of the decisions. Once a decision has been made, information needed so that its effect can be reviewed. So time you have to review whether decision is correct and the problem has been correctly solved or not. Right, so with that we'll have a small break.